Throughout this video, we will share some basic information about the next generation tire fill machine, as well as safety procedures, required tools, materials, machine startup, proper tire filling techniques, machine shutdown, and cleanup. Ensure you have the necessary equipment required for the tire fill flat-proofing system at your location, including a flat-proofing log for record keeping, a cleaning solvent such as 99% isopropyl alcohol, tools, rags for cleanup, and safety items such as safety glasses and chemical-resistant gloves, a fire extinguisher, a tire safety gauge, a first aid kit with eye wash stations, and safety data sheets. Due to the combustible materials you will be handling, there should be no smoking, grinding, or open flames in the workspace, with signs posted. Spectators should be carefully monitored. Refer to the OSHA guidelines for additional information. Compliance is unique at each location and should be in accordance with all local, state, and federal regulations. Flat-proofing materials should be stored indoors in a controllable environment at 72 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. Never store flat-proofing materials outside. Prior to processing, the materials must be at least 72 degrees Fahrenheit to ensure proper mixing and curing times. During cold weather processing, allow for extra curing times. 24 to 48 hours is recommended. When moving the equipment or changing totes, care must be given to keep the hoses on the correct side. Tire Fill's ISO side is sensitive to moisture. It requires the use of a desiccant to remove any moisture from the air as it enters the tote. To install the desiccant cartridge, simply peel the tabs on both sides of the canister. On the canister, there is an arrow which indicates the direction of airflow. The arrow must be pointed towards the tote. To install the desiccant, remove the 2-inch center bong ISO tote. Grease the threads of the desiccant holder and screw the assembly into the center opening. Place the filter in the desiccant holder and tighten the hose clamp. Make sure the inspection window is visible from the front of the tote. Change the cartridge when the inspection window turns pink. When hooking up new totes, inspect the ball valve for damage that may have occurred during shipping. Remove the shipping cap and foil seal, then apply a thin coat of grease to the tote connector. Screw the tote connector onto the ball valve, hand tighten only. Apply grease to the tote connector and the insides of the cam lock. Then connect the cam lock to the tote connector. Lock the cam lock in place by pulling back on the handles and inserting the pins. Repeat this procedure for the other tote. The inside of the tire must be clean and dry. Water, sealants, glycol, calcium chloride, soaps, bead lubricants, or even dirt must be removed from the tire. If the tire is rinsed, the inside of the tire must be dried prior to flat proofing. Wheels should be inspected for cracks, metal fatigue, and corrosion. Bent, cracked, or rusted wheels are a safety hazard and should not be used. New tires should be pre-stretched by inflating to operating pressures for 24 hours at 72 degrees Fahrenheit before filling. Pre-stretching the tire ensures that the tire will be filled to its capacity and will minimize long-term carcass growth during service. Used tires do not need to be pre-stretched and will take more tire fill product than a new tire. The best results and value are obtained when flat-proofing new tires. The tire fill material is injected into the tire through the valve stem. At the same time, air is removed or vented through an opening or needle at the 12 o'clock position. Liquid tire fill material fills the inside cavity of the tire. When the tire is full, the hole is plugged with a bolt or screw. The tire is then pressurized for the correct application. The valve stem is then sealed and the tire is laid flat to cure. After 24 to 48 hours, a solid elastomer is formed. The tire is now permanently flat-proofed and can be put into service. Flat-proof tires are pressurized not with air but with tire fill material. It is important that before you begin flat-proofing, you know the operating pressure of the tire. If you are uncertain about the pressure, refer to the manufacturer's data book or the yearbook by the Tire and Rim Association. Never pressurize the tire above the maximum pressure as indicated on the sidewall or wheel rating. There is a fundamental difference between pressurizing a tire with air and pressurizing a tire with tire fill flat-proofing materials. Gases are compressible, liquids are not. Pressurizing a tire with air is a gradual process. with pressure building slowly from the initial introduction of air. With the tire fill flat-proofing process, the tire is vented during the filling procedure, so there is little buildup until the tire is totally filled. Then, pressure builds rapidly while pumping a very small additional amount of material. Tire Fill has a flat-proofing weight chart in addition to an online flat-proofing estimator to help you approximate weight and cost for flat-proofing tires. This information will be useful as it will help you determine if you have enough material to do the job and to monitor the progress of each tire as it is filled. In addition, you will be provided with an operator's manual. Please keep your manual handy so you will have access to more detailed information as well as troubleshooting. Lay out the next-gen system with the totes to the left, the tire fill machine in the center, and the safety cage on the right. This layout will typically work best for most situations. The totes and safety cages will be positioned on scales. HMI Overview. Turn the machine on using the power switch at the upper right-hand corner. The HMI will begin booting up. This process can take up to 1 minute. Press the Start button in the lower left-hand corner to proceed. Press the Setup button tab on the bottom of the screen. Next, press the Reset Drives button at the top. This will clear any faults. Then, select the Main tab at the bottom of the screen to return to the main screen. We will briefly describe some functions on the HMI. Select the Maintenance tab. Locate the drive status column on the screen. When the drives are off, disabled will be displayed. Pressing the buttons will toggle the status to enabled. Pressing the mode button will toggle between the fill and clean modes. The button will indicate which mode is active. When the clean mode is activated, the ISO drive is automatically disabled for cleaning. For startup, the fill mode is selected. Select the main tab at the bottom. To select the recipes, press the Recipe button. This will bring up the recipe menu. This screen stores all the tire sizes, weights, pressures, and ratios of the tires you will be filling. Pressing the plus button will bring up the next tire in the recipe database. Description, weight, and final pressure will be populated on the screen in the designated windows. Pressing the load button will load this recipe into memory. Pressing the minus button will bring up the last recipe. Since we will be filling a 12 to 16.5 size tire, we will select this recipe and press the load button. Please refer to the operator's manual for creating recipes. Press the main button to return to the main screen. Press the grinder start button under the HMI. The grinder will start and you can observe the material in the grinder from the monitor located on top of the tire fill machine. Select football-sized chunks of used or recovered tire fill material. Each piece must be scanned with the metal detector. Scan and inspect each chunk for embedded metal fragments or foreign debris. Once you have cleared the chunk, toss it into the grinder opening. On the HMI display, there is a level gauge showing the amount of processed urethane in the drum hopper. Keep feeding scanned chunks into the grinder until the level reaches 100%. The indicator buttons to the right of the gauge will also reflect the levels indicating depleted, low, and high. Machine startup. From the parts washer, remove the manifold head, barrel reducer housing, mixing tube, fluid gun, mixing elements, drain valve, mixing tube coupler, whip hose adapter, and valve stem connector. Place the components on a working surface and apply Teflon tape to the threads of the manifold. Next, connect the mixing tube adapter to the manifold and tighten. Apply Teflon tape to the narrow end of the mixing tube threads. Insert the first mixing element into the mixing tube, stopping 1 inch from the top. Lock the second element into the first element and continue inserting. Repeat this process for the third and fourth elements. Apply Teflon tape to the opening of the mixing tube. Apply the mixing tube to the manifold coupler and tighten. Apply Teflon tape to the threads of the whip hose and attach the coupler to the mixing tube. Attach the whip hose to the end of the coupler and tighten. Apply Teflon tape to the whip hose adapter and connect the adapter to the injector barrel. Orient the adapter as shown. Attach the whip hose to the barrel and tighten. You are now ready to attach the manifold assembly to the barrel. Apply grease to the manifold nipples and complete the assembly by inserting the female end of the manifold into the male end and locking back the couplers. Open the manifold hand valve. Place a lined 5-gallon pail under the barrel opening for a waste container. Open the ISO and cat ball valves on the totes. From the main screen on the HMI, select the 50% ratio and select slow speed. If the grinder is not running, start it now. Press the jog button on the control panel and observe the material output from the barrel. The material ejected should be wet and mixed thoroughly with grind. Release the jog button when the bucket is between half and 3/4 full. Attach the barrel reducer to the barrel and tighten. The coupler end should be positioned around the 7 o'clock position. Attach the drain valve to the coupler and tighten. The valve handle should be accessible from the front of the barrel. Attach the filling hose to the end of the barrel housing reducer and tighten. Place the tire to be filled in the safety cage and attach the fluid gun to the filling hose. Tire filling process. Remove the air-water core from the valve stem and screw the filling adapter onto the valve stem. Place the fluid gun over a clean waste bucket and with the drain valve open, press the jog foot pedal switch. Tire fill material will exit the drain valve. After a few seconds, close the drain valve and allow tire fill material to exit the fluid gun. Continue jogging for an additional 5 seconds to prime the fill hose. Stop the machine by releasing the jog foot pedal switch. Press in on the plunger and insert the air-water valve core into the plunger. It should be a tight fit. Pull back on the plunger and insert the fluid gun into the valve stem adapter. Confirm the correct recipe setting on the HMI and change back to the main screen. Press the cycle reset button to zero the tire scale and press the cycle start button to start the filling cycle. The HMI display will indicate the cycle complete percentage, fill hose pressure, speed, and ratios. When the fill cycle has reached 40%, a flag will appear to drill the vent hole. Press the start button to acknowledge. Vent the tire at the 12 o'clock position using a drill and a 3/8 drill bit. Take a sample from the drain valve into a clear plastic bag while the machine is operating. Continue to monitor the filling cycle. When the cycle reaches 80%, a reminder flag will appear to plug the vent hole. Press the start button to continue. Material should be close to exiting the vent hole. If it is not, continue filling until the material exits. Plug the vent hole with a medium lag bolt. Observe the pressure in the tire on the HMI. Change to a 50% ratio on the HMI and press the start button to pressurize the tire. Stop the filling process to check the tire pressure often. If more pressure is needed, press the cycle start button and repeat the start-stop process until the tire reaches the designated tire pressure. The jog button may also be utilized as well at this point. When the tire reaches the correct pressure, press the Record Data button on the main screen. This will create a production log of the tires filled each day. Press the Yes button to save. Press down on the fluid gun's plunger and turn the knob clockwise to screw the valve core into the valve stem. When tight, pull up on the plunger and open the drain valve. Confirm the pressure drop on the HMI. Remove the fluid gun from the valve stem adapter and place over the barrel and waste bucket. Remove the valve stem adapter from the valve stem and clean any spilled material from the wheel. Remove the tire from the safety cage and lay the tire flat on the pallet for proper curing. If you have more tires to fill, repeat this process. Cleanup. On the maintenance screen, change from the fill mode to clean mode. Place the fluid gun over the waste container and open the drain valve. Press the jog foot pedal. Run for 5 seconds, then close the drain valve. Run for an additional 20 seconds into the waste container. Close the manifold hand valve and attach an air line to the manifold T. Open the drain valve and hold the fluid gun over the waste container pointed down. Using your free hand, vary the valve on the manifold T from closed to the halfway open position. Air will remove any remaining material from the mixing tube, whip hose, and injector assembly. When the material has been evacuated, close the drain valve and repeat the process for the fill hose. Use a section of cardboard over the waste container to reduce any splashback. Stop when you can hear only air escaping from the fluid gun. Remove the fluid gun from the fill hose and place aside. Remove the fill hose from the barrel reducer and reposition the waste bucket to catch any material. Next, remove the drain valve and place aside. Remove the barrel reducer assembly and place aside. Disable the cat pump and run dry crumb through the barrel. Remove the whip hose from the barrel and place a cap on the end. Remove the whip hose adapter and place aside. Remove the other end of the whip hose from the mixing tube. Remove the coupler, then the mixing tube. Separate the head from the manifold valve body and set aside. Clean the components one by one in the wash container with an approved cleaning solvent. Your accessory kit comes complete with several sizes of brushes to assist with cleaning. Use the long nylon brush to clean the internals of the manifold, drain valve, fluid gun, couplers, whip hose and valve stem adapters, and the barrel housing assembly. Use the short brush to clean connecting thread surfaces. Eject the mixing elements from the mixing tube. Clean the mixing elements with the short brush and place them in a safe place to prevent breakage. Remove the end caps from the fill hose and pour solvent into the hose. Once filled, place the end caps on the fill hose. Repeat this process for the whip hose. Starting with the fill hose, lift each side up and down to distribute the solvent in the hose. Repeat this step for the whip hose. Keep all components in the wash container until next use. Close the ball valves on the ISO and cat totes. Turn off the power. Congratulations! You have successfully operated and cleaned the next generation tire fill machine. These important steps will allow you to be prepared and ready for the next time you want to fill a tire.